Jennifer Lawrence. When did you first meet her?
I first met her the year of the fighter at the AFI lunch. The American Film Institute has a lunch for the nominees, or the people they picked as the top 10 films of that year. And I know she was in a film called Winter's Bone that year, and she was talking to Darren Aronofsky and me, and he was there with a film called Black Swan. And I didn't really understand who she was. She looked kind of like she was like, I don't know, yeah.
She was like what?
I don't know. She kind of looked like some like Orange County girl. Like she was like all dressed up like in a white dress with big hair and like high heels. And I was like, who is that? And they're like, that's Jennifer Lawrence. I go, that's the girl from Winter's Bone, And they were like, yeah. I was like, wow, she doesn't look anything like that. And I just said hi to her. And I remember when I was driving out of that driveway, looking back out of the car, looking back at her, still talking to Darren. And then, a year went by and I started to get to make Silver Linings. And we had 2 or 3 actresses that were very close to getting the role who had auditioned with me several times. And at the very last minute, we said, well, why don't you read Jennifer Lawrence? And I said, well, I don't know if she's too young for it. Can she come in and read? And they said, why don't you just read her? And she's in Kentucky and she'll do it via Skype. And I said, okay. And so then she did a Skype audition that blew me away.
What scene did she do?
She did several scenes. She did one where she cried, and I'm trying to remember what scene that would be, that made her cry. I don't even know, does she cry in the movie? She cries at the end of the movie. I don't know. I'm trying to remember. I have to go back and get the audition thing. I still have it. But she dressed up as the character. She put on black eyeliner. She did their running scenes together, right? So maybe during one of the running scenes when they have an argument, I asked her to cry, and she made me cry. And then she went and like killed a spider in the bathroom that was behind her, which was just kind of amazing to me.
What do you mean she went and killed a spider?
She'd cried, so she went to get a tissue. And when she went in the bathroom, she was like, there's a gigantic spider in the bathroom. It was in her father's house, in her parents' house. And then she imitated how the spider went when she like tried to attack the spider, and that fascinated me as much as anything else she did. I mean, she was not unlike anybody I'd ever seen, unlike anybody I'd ever met. And Harvey Weinstein, the producer of the picture, was very skeptical. And I went there personally to his office in New York to show him the Skype. I didn't trust him just looking at it casually himself. So I went up there from the Philadelphia location to show it to him personally, and I put it in front of him. And within 30 seconds of looking at her, I heard him say, "Oh my God." And I said, "Yeah, there you go." And that was that.
So you cast her without meeting her?
Right, except for that time with Darren. Yeah, except for that time at the lunch, yeah.
Huh.
The first time I really met her was when she came running up onto the set to do the scene. I remember it like it was yesterday. It's the running scene where she says to him in the black trench coat, I can't do the thing. I can't give the letter to your wife. I can't do it. They made a deal for her to give a letter to his wife to break the restraining order. And she says, I can't do it. And he goes, what do you mean? What do you mean you can't do it? You said you would do it. You said you said you would do it. She goes, yeah, but what are you going to do for me? I'm always doing things for other people, and I wake up and I've got nothing. Nobody's ever doing for me. And he goes, I don't understand. She goes, I'm not my sister. Like her sister gets everything she wants. That makes me cry when I say it. Damn it. Anyway, it's all very personal to me. So she came running onto the set and did that scene with us, and Bradley and I, our jaws were hanging open because we just said, wow, she's so amazing. That was when I really met her.
What surprised you about her?
Everything. She's just very special. I don't want to overstate it. She is a very real, down-to-earth person who is has a sense of humor about herself, does not think she's important, take the piss out of herself at any moment, and has a very deep, instinctive way of doing things that she can't explain and she doesn't need to explain. And she's not very articulate about it, or articulate necessarily about anything, but that's okay, because she just, she is who she is, and what she does is, I'll give you one story about her that I think will explain to you a little bit who she is. I think she's just a very special actor, and everything she does is extremely alive and from her soul. Her soul merges with the soul of the character and becomes a third thing that does unexpected things that are always somehow deeply charming and enchanting and very moving and alive and unexpected. So here's an example. So the night we shoot the diner scene in Silver Linings Playbook, we're out in the dark on the street. And did I tell you this story?
No, go ahead.
Did I tell it to you?
No.
Okay. Should I tell it or not?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know if we're out of time. So it's very cold out and it's dark, and she's walking around on the set the whole time reading the Tolstoy novel Anna Karenina, all right, which is like this. It's like a phone book, all right. And I was just impressed that this 20-year-old girl who was reading Anna Karenina, from Kentucky, who liked to eat junk food and, watch Real Housewives of, Long Island. She's a down-home girl and she's reading this book, I love it. These are my favorite people. Like Diane von Furstenberg. They are fearless and they have no preconceived conformist notions about anything. They will talk about anything or anybody and embrace anybody or anything. It all has to be real to them. So she's reading this novel and she's like got this much of it left. All right. I don't know. Does anybody here know that book at all?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So,
yeah.
But I mean, not everybody does because, people are mostly reading text these days, so I go, oh, wow, you're down to almost the end, Jennifer, because I'd watched her reading it up to this point. I go, well, as we're story. I go, well, have you gotten to the part where, she throws herself under the train tracks, where she shows it, and she goes, what? And I said, oh, no, I know, I was just joking around. I don't know. She goes, no. She goes, surely Vronsky is coming back. Vronsky, surely he's coming back. And she starts crying. She's sobbing, going. I go, oh my God! I go, no, yeah, he's going to come back. Just keep reading it. And she walks away from me sobbing. And I never had an experience like that in my life. Like this 20-year-old person who's living every ounce of Anna Karenina, and like the fact that the guy wasn't going to come back for the girl just like destroyed her. I mean, she felt it from the bottom of her toes. I mean, I don't know how to explain that, and that's just a.
It's interesting because the casting is so distinctive, but I know you almost didn't have Jennifer Lawrence for American Hustle.
She was a 11th hour audition because she technically wasn't available. She was she had 3 weeks off between X-Men and Hunger Games, and it was the only vacation she'd had in years. And then I called her up and I said, I just feel that it would be irresponsible of me as your collaborator if I didn't at least talk to you about this, and you can say no. And as soon as we talked about it, it was like, it was like electric, because it turned her on to be someone who was nowhere remotely close to anyone she'd ever been. That was her vacation. For her to become this woman with nails and hair, and she just was like, oh my God. She was like, she embraced it. It was a great vacation to her.